Hello everyone, welcome to Integrated Medical Biochemistry with Dr. Bijoya. Today we shall see the verification of Beer's law using 0.5 milligram percentage of KMNO4. So let us begin. Now this is the flow diagram of a colorimeter. We will use the colorimeter to verify the Beer's law. So the most important components of colorimeter are a light source, a slit, a lens, a filter, cuvette, photocell, and the output device. So this is the colorimeter. This is how it looks like, the simplest colorimeter. And because it measures the concentration of colored substances, that is why it is known as colorimeter. And the inside part of the colorimeter will have this kind of layout. So these will be the parts inside the colorimeter. So generally we have a light source which will throw light at the visible range. That means all the 7 colors of Vibgyor, which will pass through this slit, and then from this slit all the light rays will be condensed onto a colored filter, which is also known as monochromator. It is made up of colored glass, and then the this light will fall on the cuvette, which or the cell in which the colored solution is present. And from there, whatever light is emitted, it will be converted by the photoelectric cell into measurements of in volts, which will be converted by the galvanometer, and it will be displayed on the monitor. So this is the whole internal structure of a colorimeter as a flow diagram. So what exactly is a monochromator? Monochromator is a wheel which has different colored glasses. As you can see here, yellow, dark blue, light blue, green, pink, red. So we have to select a particular color of light to measure the absorbance of a colored solution. So whenever the white light falls on this monochromator, we select a particular colored glass and the whole white light will pass through that glass. So this is the whole 7 colored light, which is the white light. It will fall on the monochromator of a particular color. For example, this is the filter. Now from this, only a one particular color of light rays will be selected, remaining will be rejected. And that colored light will fall on the substance which is filled in the tube. It is a solution, and the light is absorbed by this solution. So if it is green, then we generally choose the red colored glass. So this is how the monochromatic filter is chosen. So this is how whenever light falls, it is known as I0. So whatever light is being emitted, first a monochromatic light is chosen depending upon the color of the solution. And then when these monochromatic light rays fall on the solution, this light is known as the I0 or the incident light. So some of the light rays are absorbed whereas some are transmitted. So the transmitted light is represented as I. Absorbed light is the incident light is represented as I0, and the transmitted light is. So now, knowing all these basics of colorimeter, we will now see how to prove the Beer's law. So for that we need to know the Beer-Lambert law. What does the Beer law say? The Beer-Lambert law says that there is a linear relationship between absorbance and concentration of a chromogen of colored molecule, which means linear relationship between absorbance and concentration means as the concentration increases, the absorbance will also increase. So it is directly proportional. That is the relationship, and this is what we have to prove. So how is it represented as an equation? Now, the log of incident light to the log of transmitted light is directly proportional to C, that is I0 to I. Here C stands for the concentration of the substance present in the solution. And this is known as absorbance, but if you take the opposite of absorbance, it is log 1 by T. So log I0 by I alpha is absorbance, whereas the opposite, uh, you can also call it, sorry, I0 by I alpha can also be called 1 by T, that is transmittance. So transmittance is inversely proportional to the concentration. That means if the concentration is more, less light will be transmitted from the solution. Now we come to the Lambert's law. Lambert's law generally remains constant in the equipment because it is the path length, that is the diameter of the cuvette and the glass used. So this is in the equipment of colorimeter or any of the photometers, this is constant. So we have to just understand what is Lambert's law, that is the incident light and the transmitted light also depends upon the path length traveled by the light. That's it. But this is constant in the law, so we don't have to worry about it. We only have to prove Beer's law, keeping Lambert's law constant. So now let us see the complete derivation of Beer's and Lambert's law. The first equation says that log I0 by I, that is log of incident light to the transmitted light, is directly proportional to C, that is a chromogen in the presence of monochromatic light. That is equation 1. Equation 2 is log I0 by I is directly proportional to the path length, and this is the uh, Lambert's law, and here also the light has to be monochromatic. Now when we combine these two, we can say that I0 by log of I0 by I is directly proportional to C and L. That is equation 3. Now whenever we have to prove these laws, that is Beer's law and Lambert's law, so suppose we are proving Beer's law today, then the Lambert's law will be constant, means the path length will be constant. And if we want to prove the Lambert's law, then the concentration of the substance will be or the Beer's law will be constant. This is how one of the two have to be constant. As both the factors are present together, one of them have to be constant in order to prove the second one. Now I0 by I, log I0 by I can also be written as 1 by T, and T stands for transmittance, that is a transmitted light. And here there is an inverse relationship, that the light transmitted is inversely related to concentration and path length. So uh, as the concentration of colored particle increases, light transmitted will be less. And same way, as the path length increases, the light transmitted will be less. So this is the inverse relationship. And now I by log I by T can also be written as OD, optical density or absorbance. So replacing this, we can say that absorbance is directly proportional to Cl. So this is the final equation. This is what we will be using, that A is directly proportional to C, keeping L constant. Now the optical density range is always between zero point 0.7 to zero point 0.1, the readings in this range are ideal. If the reading is below zero point 0.1 and above zero point 0.7, then the accuracy of measurement is decreased. We cannot rely on those readings. Now, these are the values that we have obtained while carrying out the verification of Beer's law, and you can see that as the amount of KMNO4 increases, as it is increasing downwards, the absorbance is also increasing. So this is directly proportional. This is what we had to prove. Now you have to find out the concentration of KMNO4 here, which will be through a formula that I'll just show you. So this is a demonstration of verification of Beer's law using distilled water 0.5 milligram percentage KMNO4 and a glass tube, glass pipette, I'm sorry. We also need 6 test tubes labeled as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And in each tube we will first add increasing amount of KMNO4 and then decreasing amount of distilled water in such a way that the final volume remains 5 ml. So in first test tube, if there is 5 ml of distilled water, then in second 3, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. And same way in KMNO4 it will be the opposite. So 0 ml of KMNO4, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So the last tube will have only KMNO4 and no distilled water. So visually when we see as the amount of KMNO4 is increasing, the color intensity is also increasing. So this is how it should show in the absorbance also, and we will measure that now in the colorimeter and see whether the Beer's law is getting proved, that the absorbance increases with the concentration of colored chromogen on selecting a monochromatic filter. So here the monochromatic filter selected is 420 nanometers. So 420 nanometer is a blue-green filter. So now we will first set 0 with distilled water blank. After having set 0 absorbance, we will start taking the absorbance of each tube, starting from lowest amount of KMNO4. Just note it down. So as the KMNO4 in each tube increases, the concentration of KMNO4, the absorbance should also increase in proportion. So this is what we can see here, but the exact picture will be obtained only on plotting the graph. So now this is the fifth tube in which there is the absorbance is 0.52 and in the final tube the absorbance is 0.67. Now all this will have to be plotted in a graph. Now the calculation which I was saying, you have to calculate the values. So you have to use this formula, that OD of sample minus OD of blank, OD of standard minus OD means absorbance. So absorbance of sample minus absorbance of blank upon absorbance of standard minus absorbance of blank, just multiplied by the concentration of standard, because we already know it. So when we know all these components, we will know automatically be able to calculate the concentration of the sample which has a known amount of the molecule. After having calculated, we have to plot a graph, and in the x-axis the concentration will be measured with the unit, which may be in milligrams per deciliter or grams per, whatever is the unit. So for the current exercise, KMNO4 is in milligrams per deciliter. and on the y-axis the absorbance will be written, and the scaling will be mentioned over here like this. And then the graph has to be plotted. So when you plot the graph, you will see that after a certain concentration, there is a uh, non-linear graph. So for some time there is linearity, and after some time the graph becomes non-linear and flat. So now let us try to understand what this means. So whenever we are carrying out a standardization, that is, for every method we have to verify the Beer's law. Whenever a new equipment is installed in a lab, we have to verify the Beer's law. If a new kit is, or if new chemicals are being made, we have to verify the Beer's law. That is the use of Beer's law. So Beer's law will tell us whether the method is linear or not. So this graph at 45 degrees angle is the linear graph, and it is an ideal graph. But if it falls a little downwards, or a little, or it becomes a little steep, then there is negative deviation or a positive deviation, which is not good. So again, either it may be due to improper reagent preparation or due to improper pipetting. So that has to be checked. So now, after having carried out the verification of Beer's law, we use standards of known concentration of different known concentrations. Like we make a stock solution of very high concentration, and then we dilute it into smaller concentrations and then plot a graph. And we know the concentration of all. So that is why these are called standard 1, 2, 3, and 4. And you see that the Beer's law is being followed, and this is the slope that we obtain. And through this plot, we can find out the value of the unknown solvent. So this is the purpose of Beer's law. Now there's one more term, that is absorbance maxima. So what is absorbance maxima? Absorbance maxima is the wavelength of maximum absorbance, which is written as lambda max. The extent to which a sample absorbs light depends upon the wavelength of the light. The wavelength at which the substance shows maximum absorbance is called absorption maxima or maximum. So if the KMNO4 tubes that you have diluted, you just take any one of the dilution and try to find out its absorbance at different wavelengths and see in which wavelength it absorbs maximum light. That wavelength will be called absorption of maximum or lambda max for KMNO4. Here the example is given. So here is a range of different wavelengths and the different absorbances. So you can see that the lambda max here in case of KMNO4 is 540. So ideally, the wavelength in which a substance shows maximum absorbance is selected as the selected wavelength. But in case of KMNO4, we have taken a lower wavelength, because you can see that even a small amount of KMNO4 is showing lot of absorbance. And you know that the ideal absorbance lies between 0.1 to zero point 0.6 or zero point 0.7. So if a small concentration is giving such a high absorbance, when we go to the higher concentration tubes, the absorbance will not be measured at all. So it is better for such compounds which give very bright colors or which have very intense colors, the lambda max cannot be selected. So this is an exception to the rule. Before that, you need to know some details. That is the what is blank. Blank is used for zeroing an instrument during a test procedure. A blank can correct errors due to existing color or turbidity in the reagent before samples are added. So there are three different kinds of blanks. It may be a distilled water blank, a reagent blank, and a serum blank. The distilled water and reagent blanks are most commonly used blanks. So let us see what is the distilled water blank. It is used to correct small positive error in test results that is due to distilled water. The reagent blank is a reagent blank, that is the reagent itself, which is used to correct small positive error in the test result that comes due to the color of the reagent. And now serum blank is used in certain rare condition where the serum is added in the blank to correct the positive error in test result that comes from serum sample itself. So the serum blank is used for zeroing an instrument due to existing color or turbidity in the sample. For example, if there is high amount of bilirubin or lipids, that is if chylomicrons are, if the sample is lipemic, then we add these in the blank and zero the equipment with that, and this is known as serum blank. Now, what is a standard solution? A standard solution is a solution containing accurately known concentration of a substance that we are measuring. So a known weight of solute is dissolved to make a specific volume in a solvent, and it is used to determine concentration of other same substance but whose values are unknown. So the molecule is same in both standard solution and in the unknown solution. But in standard solution, its concentration is known. We have prepared it. Now, what is a test sample? Test sample is a sample containing an unknown concentration of a substance that has to be quantitatively measured and calculated against a standard having known value of the same substance.